More on the importance of Xi's visit to the UK. I was joined earlier by Philippe Le Corre from Brookings Center on the United States and Europe. He's an expert on Asia-Europe relations in the field of politics and economics.
Well, I think, it's a very important trip for China and for the UK, because for the past 2 years, really, the UK has been demonstrating its warm welcome of Chinese presence in the country, and particularly when it comes to investments. But generally, it wants to present itself as China's best Western friend, which I think is a new concept, which hasn't come from a Western country for a long time.
What do you think about this new term being called the Golden Era, describing the Sino-British relationship?
Well, it's kind of ironic when you think about history. I mean, 2 opium wars and, the Hong Kong, the foreign concessions, all the history between China and the UK. So basically the word that comes to mind when one talks about the UK is pragmatism. And in fact, the Chinese are sort of used to this British pragmatism, having sort of cohabitated with the Brits in Hong Kong, for example. So it is a golden era in the sense that after difficulties over the years, over the centuries, I would say, Britain is suddenly becoming the top destination for Chinese FDI in Europe, and also about to become the first trading center for the renminbi, which is very important for China in its sort of global stance.
Tell us how the UK is gradually becoming China's best Western friend, Philip, and is the US threatened by that?
Well, the US is obviously a little bit surprised, especially if you remember the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank saga of early this year, when the UK was actually the first country to become to agree to become a founding member of the bank, and Washington was somewhat surprised about that. So today, obviously, the UK-China relationship is mainly about business, and in fact, I suppose the AIIB was also about business in many ways. But I'm sure in Washington, people think of this relationship also in strategic terms. And at the end of the day, the UK is part of the Atlantic Alliance, and there are strong ties between the UK and US militaries. So I'm sure on the US administration part, there are some concerns.
Why did Britain so quickly become Europe's top destination, really, for foreign direct investment from the Chinese? How did this happen?
I think it's a lot to do with British pragmatism, as I said earlier. First of all, the financial center of London is very attractive to the Chinese. The English language, of course, is one reason. Many property deals took place in the city of London. Chinese banks open branches, in London, several of them. Exim Bank, China Construction Bank, Bank of China, and they are there, if you want, as the front runners of further Chinese investments that will be taking place in the next few years. So I think London is showing the way to a lot of investments. In fact, in the rest of the country as well, because President Xi Jinping will be going to Manchester. For the first time, a Chinese leader will actually travel outside London and visit another important city in the UK.